Do you really know your children? Are you sure? Because in this true story, a mother found out in the cruelest way that danger can live where you least expect it. It wasn't her fault. It wasn't lack of love. It was the silence. It was trusting too much and she's growing up, it's just a phase, kids lie over silly things. But what this 11-year-old girl was hiding would change the whole family. And the most shocking part? It all started with a slight limp one morning. This isn't a made-up story. This isn't a soap opera. It's real life, with hot blood, real tears, and a wound no one wants to expose. A girl, a secret, a shocking marriage proposal, and a mother battling shame, fear, and a society that doesn't forgive a mother's mistakes. If you've ever doubted what your child is doing when you're not around, this story is going to hit you hard. And maybe, just maybe, make you act before it's too late. It seemed like an ordinary day, at least at first. The sun had barely risen when the mother noticed something different about her 11-year-old daughter. She was limping slightly as she got out of bed. At first, she thought it was just a minor fall or a twisted ankle, something that would go away in a day. But what started small became a constant discomfort. The girl limped more often, started avoiding eye contact, responded coldly, and locked her bedroom door more frequently. That was the first red flag, but even then, the mother thought it might just be a phase. Then a teacher, with a serious expression, pulled her aside and said something she would never forget. "Sleep next to your daughter tonight, and you'll understand everything." That hit her hard. Sleep with her? The girl had insisted on having her own room, saying she wanted privacy, that she was growing up. Like many parents, the mother thought it was normal. But that suggestion from the teacher stirred something inside her, a mix of fear and guilt. And when she laid beside her daughter that night, in 5 minutes, she fell into a strange, deep sleep, like she had been knocked out. She woke up the next morning with a hollow feeling in her chest and one question pounding in her head: what happened during those hours I slept so deeply? The girl still had the same limp, the same tired expression, and worse, the same resistance to getting close. That was just the beginning of a silent drama where the feeling of helplessness began to mix with suspicion and fear. The mother was about to dive into a real-life story where every small detail mattered and where the girl's silence was hiding something much bigger than anyone could imagine. Tension started to grow at home like a shadow no one wanted to name. The girl, once affectionate and talkative, now stayed closed off, gave short answers, and seemed in a hurry to isolate herself. She locked her room, snapped at any question, and always looked exhausted. That's when Aunt Rashida, a straight talker with sharp eyes, warned, "You need to pay more attention. Your daughter isn't just tired. Something's wrong." It felt like a slap. The mother felt her heart freeze. What if she really was missing something? Days later, it was a madrasa teacher who raised a red flag. She said the girl showed up in different clothes, always well-dressed, but with a lifeless look. She hid her exhaustion behind fake smiles and made up stories to explain the gifts and money. She claimed a rich friend named Rosa gave her clothes and treats. A believable excuse if it were real. The teacher, experienced, knew that when a child lies so smoothly, there's usually drama behind it, and often it's drama the parents refuse to see. This kind of true story hurts because it exposes something no one wants to admit. Often, danger lives right inside the routine. The mother, despite the suspicions, kept trying to justify everything. Maybe it's just a rough phase, maybe school stress, but deep down she knew. The feeling of fear was growing because it wasn't just about rebellion, it was about secrets. And secrets, when not faced, create chasms between parents and children. And that chasm was just beginning to form. When a mother tries to sleep in her daughter's room to get closer, usually the daughter rolls her eyes, complains about space. But this wasn't just teen drama. It was a firm, cold, almost calculated refusal. The girl, once clingy, now rejected any physical or emotional closeness. And when the mother finally managed to lie next to her after insisting, something strange happened. Within minutes, she fell into a deep sleep, deeper than any normal tiredness could explain. The next morning, the clock showed it was past 9 and the girl was still asleep, way off her usual schedule. That set off another red flag. Had she mixed something in the milk? The thought was absurd, but the feeling wasn't. It was like the mother was being deceived in her own home. When she tried to repeat the night in the room, the door was locked from the inside. The girl said she was tired, but the reality seemed different. This wasn't about rebellion anymore, it was about escape. Escape from something that still had no name. This part of the real story is the most disturbing, when motherly instinct screams and the heart feels heavy but you still don't have proof. Just signs. Little details. Late wake-ups, untimely exhaustion, fear disguised as independence. And the mother's internal struggle became unbearable. Because no matter how hard she tried to watch, control, or reconnect, her daughter always seemed 2 steps ahead. And when that happens, you either face what's coming or get lost trying to protect without knowing what from. It was while snooping in her daughter's room that the mother got the kind of shock no mother ever wants. Under the pillow, a stash of 5,000 takas. That didn't come from allowance, nor from anyone's gift. Next to the money, makeup, and new clothes, some with tags still on. The girl swore she was tutoring to earn her own money, but let's be real, what 11-year-old teaches enough to earn all that? This was another heavy chapter in the family's silent drama. The daughter seemed more and more independent, but in a way that scared the mother. She didn't know whether to feel proud or afraid or both, because it was a kind of independence that was hidden, like someone who doesn't want to be found out. And the worst part was the helpless feeling, the thought that creeps into every parent's mind when they realize they don't know their child like they thought. In this true story, the money became a symbol of something bigger, secrets, choices, and maybe even lies the girl chose to hide. And no matter how much she tried to keep control, the mother felt more and more like she was playing a game on a board she'd never seen. The scariest part wasn't the money itself, but the girl's maturity in handling it all. Something was off, and she needed to find out what before it was too late. The morning had barely started when the daughter showed up dressed in white, like it was a special day. And it was, at least in her mind. With a disturbing calmness, she told her mother she wanted to get married. That she wasn't a burden anymore, that she'd cover the costs herself, that she was ready. Hearing that, the mother's world collapsed. An 11-year-old girl talking about marriage like she was signing up for a phone plan. The worst part wasn't even the proposal itself, but the feeling behind the words. The girl wasn't asking permission, she was informing her. Like someone who saw no other way. And before the mother could even process the conversation, Aunt China showed up with wedding clothes and a smile that already spelled trouble from a mile away. She said she had a proposal to marry the girl to her own son. A guy involved with dance, music, and a reputation that would make any mother lose sleep. That's when the drama blew up. The mother didn't know what was worse, the absurd request or the cold way her sister-in-law talked about it. Like it was normal. Like she was doing them a favor. And more than that, the revelation that the girl was already working with them at night, singing and dancing, left the mother in shock. This wasn't just a difficult phase. This was a cruel true story, hidden in the fine print of a life that no longer belonged to just her. It was in that moment, with the house full of wedding clothes and the daughter silent, that the mother felt the sharpest pain, betrayal from within her own family. The sister-in-law, with a smug look, revealed everything. She said she took the girl out every night, that she sang and danced for men at parties, like it was normal. Like it was just a job. But for a mother who hadn't even allowed lipstick before age 12, it was devastating. The sister-in-law's coldness made it clear that this wasn't a proposal, it was blackmail. Either accept the marriage or everyone finds out what your daughter does at night. The mother's mix of despair and guilt exploded inside her. When had she lost control? And the worst part, the girl didn't deny any of it. Didn't cry. Didn't ask for help. It was like she had accepted her fate. Like she thought that was the best she could get. This was the climax of the drama, the point where it stopped being suspicion and became a brutal truth. A true story where no one is completely innocent, but no one is completely guilty either. Because what makes a child hide so much from her own mother? And what makes an aunt feel entitled to use a child's innocence as currency? The questions only grew, and the feeling of helplessness made it clear this wasn't over. The numbers, once just details, now screamed truths no one wanted to hear. 5,000 takas under the pillow. 6 to 7 hours of deep sleep after drinking a simple glass of milk. 11 years old, but with the behavior and speech of someone much older. Each number was a puzzle piece that, when put together, revealed a terrifying picture. It was like the data was shouting, "You've lost control, but there's still time to act." The strongest feeling was guilt. How could a mother not notice her daughter was drugging her milk? How not question where all that money, clothes, and makeup came from? The truth is, many parents avoid tough conversations, hoping time will fix things. But in this real story, time only gave the secrets room to grow. And when the numbers started to show up, it was like they were screaming for help. These little signs, the details, carried more drama than any speech. Because when an 11-year-old knows how to manipulate the household routine, it means she's already been through experiences no child should know. And that's when the question becomes urgent: what else was hidden? Because if the numbers said so much, what was still out of the mother's reach? Sometimes the most important answer is in the question no one dared to ask. And the one that hurt the most was, what were the first signs the girl was hiding something? Because there are always signs. The limp, the hesitation to open the door, the tiredness at odd hours, the new clothes no one bought. That's where the drama begins, when the small alarms go off but get drowned out by routine. And when the heart warns, fear often speaks louder than reason. Another question that kept echoing: how did the mother react to the revelations from the aunt and teacher? The answer isn't simple, because between shock and pain, there's a feeling of failure no mother wants to admit. It's not just the fear of what others will think, it's the fear of looking in the mirror and not recognizing yourself as a mother. That's the weight of a true story. It doesn't allow edits or cuts. It exposes everything raw, without mercy, but also without lies. And finally, the deepest moral dilemma: accept the daughter's marriage as a solution or face everything and deal with the consequences. It's easy to judge from the outside, but when the family is falling apart, your head spins and your instinct is to protect even without knowing from what. At this point, the mother was no longer dealing only with her daughter. She was up against society, reputation, guilt, and fear. And every wrong choice came with a new wound or another silence. And now I ask you, are you really paying attention to the signs your children give? Could it be that in the silence of your home, behind the closed doors and busy days, there are small clues that something isn't right? This true story showed how helplessness can grow in silence and how a simple limp can hide a deep drama. Don't wait for the problem to knock loudly on your door. Don't underestimate the silence, the change in behavior, the "I'm tired," the "I don't want to talk right now." How many stories like this are happening right now and no one knows? Leave your comment below. Have you ever gone through something similar? Or do you know someone who has? Talk to me in the comments, because this kind of story needs to be talked about. And more importantly, if this touched you in any way, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Because we never know what life can be transformed or saved by a story told at the right time.